Maybe low.
Nobody talking.
Let's start from the beginning, shall we? Sorry about that, but we did have a little technical glitch, and apparently it's working better now. Hello, and welcome to the February 12th edition of the Thursday Night Thunder podcast with AJ and MMK. This is episode 37 of the series. I'm your host, Adam Jason Sinclair, and tonight on the most hardcore motorsports show on the internet, Mykkal and I will talk a bit about the World Series of Asphalt, get ready for Action Daytona, and discuss why and how we are your source for the latest and greatest auto racing news on the planet. NASCAR today announced the launch of the NASCAR local racing series powered by O'Reilly Auto Parts, a strategic reframing of its long-standing grassroots racing program, designed to more clearly reflect the vital role local short tracks play in communities across the United States and Canada. Formerly known as the NASCAR Weekly Series, the NASCAR Local Racing Series powered by O'Reilly Auto Parts places renewed emphasis on the competitive, community-driven racing that serves as a foundation of the sport. The updated identity simplifies how grassroots racing is presented to fans, partners, and communities, while reinforcing NASCAR's long-standing commitment to local competitors and hometown tracks.
The NASCAR Local Racing Series, powered by O'Reilly Auto Parts, will continue to sanction weekly racing at tracks across North America, serving as a critical entry point for emerging drivers and a cornerstone of NASCAR's driver development pathway. You can watch NASCAR local races all season on Flow Racing. For more information, visit nascar.com/regional.
As the motorsports world sets its sight on Daytona, none may realize that the 500 is not the star of the racing season. Far from it. In small tracks within a few hours of the world center of racing, grassroots racers, Hall of Famers, and rising stars have been honing their racecraft for weeks at Auburndale Speedway, Volusia Speedway, Ocala Raceway, and even on the high banks. No, not the 31 degrees of Daytona National, but the 23 degrees of New Smyrna Speedway. On that track, modifieds, late models, bombers, trucks, and more are competing again until this weekend to see who can be the fastest, as well as looking for their shot at the big time. Our guest tonight is no stranger to victory lane at New Smyrna. Derek Pugh has been racing since he was 5 years old, and from the very beginning, it was more than just a hobby. It was a passion that shaped who he is. What started as a childhood thrill quickly turned into a lifelong pursuit, teaching Derek discipline, resilience, and the drive to keep pushing forward no matter what's in front of him. He has 4 championships with racing, 3 in go-karting, and 1 in the truck series, and is now racing full-time in super late model racing. In 2025, he had an unfortunate amount of family health emergencies, so he wasn't racing that much. This year, however, they're going to be racing a lot more and race stronger than ever before. We're now pleased to welcome Derek to the program. Hello, how you doing this evening, sir?
Good. How about you guys?
Doing pretty well now. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
First off, can you tell us a little bit more how you got your start in racing?
Well, it's a weird story. When I was 5 years old, I went to go watch. Well, at the time, it was my parents' friends. We went to go watch their son go kart. He didn't enjoy it too much. They came in for a practice. It was time to go out for a heat race. He did not want to get back into the go kart, so I begged to get do the heat race for him. And I went out there, I did the heat race. I didn't do so well, but when I came back in, the look on my face and the look on my dad's face, he realized, we got to get myself a go-kart. And ever since then, I mean, that's when everything started. I think the next week after that, we got into go-karting, and it was a full-time thing for all of us.
Growing up, who was your racing idol?
Growing up, when I first started, it was Tony Stewart, but as I started to grow up a little bit, it's always been Dale Earnhardt, Dale Sr. So, in go-karting, we used to have number 20 as our number, and now it's always been number 3 for Dale Earnhardt. Just watching him race and the way he raced, I've always wanted to be like that. So I'd have to say Dale Sr.
In addition to New Smyrna, what other tracks have you competed on?
Auburndale, Citrus, they're closed now, but at the time, 417 Punta Gorda. And this year we're going to start racing at Five Flags, Cordele, just kind of venturing out a little bit in the super late model.
For my listeners who don't know, what's the difference between late model racing and NASCAR style stock cars?
There's a couple of different things, well, a lot of different things, but I'd have to say main thing is horsepower, setups, and in super late model racing, from from what I know in super late models, you get to buy your own parts wherever, as long as you stay within the rules. And from what I have been told and understand about NASCAR, is everything goes through NASCAR, all their motors, their parts. You have to buy everything from NASCAR. So, I mean, there's a lot of differences, money, all kinds of stuff. But I'd say main thing is horsepower and where you can get your stuff from.
And what is your ultimate racing goal?
Ultimate racing goal is NASCAR. I just signed up for a driver's development program, Kawicki program. They're gonna announce the finalists in mid-February. So I don't know the full details of what it entails, but from what I understand, I'll be racing either for another team or for myself. But traveling around the country, doing all kinds of different races, and the main goal is to get into NASCAR. Even the ARCA series would be a dream come true.
Now I'd like to toss you out to my co-host, Mykkal Mulalley Kapalo in Freda, Washington, who has some questions for you as well.
Okay.
So first, you said that you admired the driving style of Dale Sr., and I just have to know, would you say your driving style is a little bit like his?
I don't think anybody can be like Dale Sr., but I like to make myself think that I'm close. He was a very intimidating driver. He not only went out there and drove aggressive, but he also got into people's minds, racing's also not just driving, but it's a mind game. And he did that to everybody. So no, I'm nowhere close to what he is, but I'd like to make myself think I'm, somewhat like him.
I like that. So my first question for you this evening, what is your most memorable moment at the racetrack?
It was at Citrus County Speedway in the truck series. It was a 50-lap race. I think I started in 6th, and there was a buddy of mine, Nick Hernandez, started a couple of spots back. From lap 45 all the way to the finish line, we were side by side. Mainly I was on the outside because, the truck just reacted better on the outside. His reacted better on the inside. We were side by side for so long that his exhaust pipe burned a hole inside of the number 3 of my number. It literally caught the sticker on fire. It was the one and only race that I had to drive so hard for the whole entire race. I ended up getting second that race, but to me, that felt like a win. It was not only a very good, memorable race, but it was a blast. We never wrecked each other. We bumped and rubbed, but that's all a part of racing. So I'd have to say that was the most memorable race.
That sounds like a really good race. And what sets New Smyrna Speedway apart from other tracks that you have competed on?
I'd have to say the speed. That's and from my experience, it's the biggest track I've ever raced at, and the speed is just it throws you back in the seat. I mean, you get 3/8 miles, quarter miles, but the New Smyrna being a half mile, it's just there's nothing like it. By the time you go in the corner, I mean you're going in the supers, you're probably going 120, 130, and it's amazing.
That's fast.
Yeah, it's a great track. The banking's nice. You can go through the corners fast. The staff there is great. Just the whole atmosphere of the track is phenomenal.
And you've had 4 championship wins throughout your career. Which championship was your favorite to win?
Definitely the truck, because at Arbondale Speedway, there used to be a dirt go-kart track that I grew up racing on. And in between the practices, the heat races, and the features, I'd sneak off, which, I should always stay by the cart. I would sneak off. I'd go over to the big track, Arbondale Speedway, where all the supers would race, trucks would race. I'd sit in the grandstands and say, one day I hope I'm where these people are. And I think it was 3 or 4 years after we got the truck, we won the championship, and it was a moment I'll never forget.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So between the trucks and the super late models, which one of those have been the most intriguing to drive?
We've succeeded a lot in the truck. We've gotten 17 wins in the truck, a lot of top 3s. top fives, and the super, obviously it's got a lot more horsepower than the truck, but I definitely have to say the super, because there's so many more adjustments you can make. It's the horsepower is like a 200 horsepower difference. The other people we race with, it's just more of a competitive class. So even though we had all this luck in the truck, I'd have to say the super.
And if you could participate in any race of your choice around the world, what would you participate in and why?
It's going to sound weird, but Texas Motor Speedway and NASCAR. Growing up, I used to play iRacing. I used to play NASCAR on Xbox, and my favorite track was Texas Motor Speedway. I don't know why, but I used to do very good on iRacing and Xbox on Texas. So if I had one choice, it would have to be Texas Motor Speedway.
So do you have a race rival? And it doesn't have to be like a bad rival, but just a race rival. Do you have any of those?
I have a few bad rivals that I'm not going to name, but I have a very good friendly rival. His name's Bray Holmes. He also races a super late model. We met each other in the truck series. We raced side by side many laps, bumping, rubbing, never intentional, just racing like anybody would. And now in the supers, he succeeded a lot. We bump, rub, we race hard, and after the race, we always handshake each other. We congratulate each other. And as weird as it sounds, he always comes over for a tuna sandwich, which is like notorious for our pits. We have tuna sandwiches. We hand them out. So Bray Holmes, he's a great kid, and we're like, I'd have to say he's my best friend at the racetrack. But he's also a very hard racer, friendly rival. So he's a great kid.
Well, that sounds nice. And this is kind of one of my favorite questions to ask, but my final question for you this evening, if you had the opportunity to give a piece of advice to any person looking to get into the sport, what would that advice, what would that advice be and why?
I just have to say, starting out, when I first started in the trucks, we are averaged. I remember the first race that I did not get lapped. That was like a victory to me. There was a couple, for like a good couple months that I would get lapped, and it's kind of deceiving. But once you get in there, if you start young, you work on it every night. Not even every night, every other night. Just stay consistent, keep your head up, and just drive. I'm not the best with advice, but just keep doing what you do and go from there.
And if my listeners were interested in learning more about you and your race team, where would they go for that information?
On Facebook. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Snapchat, but I have a good following on Facebook. Just look up Derek Pugh. And my profile picture is of me and my fiance in the pro truck. Just look me up there and you should be able to find me.
Well, we'd like to thank you very much for coming on the show this evening, and hope you have a really successful year in the super late models.
No, I truly appreciate you guys for having me. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Have a great night, sir.
You too. Bye-bye.
Once again, that was Derek Pugh. He competes in super late models. He has a history of competing in the truck series. You can find him at any of the major and minor racetracks here in the state of Florida. He's bouncing around quite a bit, and we wish him all the luck in the world. Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner, or maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport? Contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, use every 15 minutes of fame, and we'd love to hear from you. The easiest way is to go to the page there, Thursday Night Thunder Podcast.podbean.com. We have all of our contact information listed there. As we stated earlier, Daytona is the center of the racing world this weekend. The General Tire 280 laps, 200 miles, is the first of 20 races on the 2026 ARCA Menard Series schedule. General Tire Group Pole qualifying is set for Friday the 13th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The race is scheduled to take the green flag the following afternoon and Saturday, shortly after noon. The start of the 74th season of Rocket Competition will be televised live on Fox for the second consecutive year, with the Motor Racing Network and SiriusXM or NASCAR Radio Channel 90 providing radio coverage. ArcaRacing.com will stream live timing and scoring throughout the day's festivities. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series will take the green flag for the season opening race at Daytona National Speedway on Friday, February 13th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Live coverage of the event will air on Fox Sports 1 and the NASCAR Racing Network.
Tanger, Daytona Beach, will host an exclusive appearance by NASCAR veteran Casey Mears, driver of the number 66 car, on Friday, February 13th from 2 to 3 p.m. The community is invited to attend a meet and greet with the racing icon as part of a special event at the open-air shopping destination in advance of the Daytona 500 weekend. Event wristbands are required and available for pickup on a first-come, first-served basis beginning at 1 p.m. at the on-site check-in table near Columbia at Tanger, Daytona Beach. Space is limited and guests are encouraged to arrive early. Tanger is partnering with Mears and the Gracie Foundation, Inc., surrounding the Daytona 500, connecting one of motorsports' most iconic weekends with an initiative close to the community's heart. As part of the collaboration, Tanger is contributing $10,000 to the Gracie Foundation supporting women undergoing cancer treatment. The donation will be presented at the conclusion of the meet and greet at Tanger, Daytona Beach. The partnership also supports the delivery of Gracie gifts, care packages filled with comforting, uplifting, and pampering items designed to bring encouragement during difficult times.
Tanger will also be featured as a key partner on the number 66 Garage 66 Ford Mustang, driven by Mears. The Gracie Foundation's involvement ensures the partnership extends beyond the race weekend, reinforcing Tanger's focus on community connection, philanthropy, and family-friendly experiences. Together, the organizations aim to harness the excitement surrounding the Daytona 500 and to create a lasting positive impact. Before taking on the Great American Race, Mears and Garage 66 will first need to earn their spot on the starting grid through the America 250 Florida Duels on Thursday, February 12th. They're taking place right now, in fact.
The America 250 Florida Duels will take place on Thursday, February 12th, and will be televised live on FS1 beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Motor Racing Network, MRN, and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90, will carry the live radio broadcast. The Daytona 500 is on Sunday, February 15th, and it will be televised live on Fox beginning at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. The Motor Racing Network will carry the live radio broadcast along with SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90.
As Daytona 500 odds continue to draw attention, RotoWire.com recently published a crash risk analysis that adds context to just how volatile this race tends to be from a betting standpoint. The exclusive odds are developed by a scoring model that factors in Daytona DNF percentage history, recent Daytona stats, the 36 race trend, aggression, chaos, magnet, equipment, and experience. As of this afternoon, the most likely to DNF are Carson Hocevar at 49.7%, Daniel Suarez at 49%, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 48.3%. The most likely to finish, John Hunter Nemechek at 21.8%, Chris Buescher at 22%, and Alex Bowman at 24.4%. Now, you never know how accurate those stats are, but only time will tell. Should be decent weather on Sunday. They've been talking about rain all week, but now it looks like the rain might hold off until Monday, or at the very least late Sunday. So they should have a nice window to get the race in there on Sunday. I've been at Daytona a few times where it hasn't been the best weather, which is kind of why I don't like going to the 500 anymore, because I've sat in the rain there a few too many times. But hopefully the weather this year cooperates. It's been a darn cold year so far this year, so it won't be the warmest there, but it will be tolerable. So, and if the weather holds off, it'll be good. You looking forward to the Daytona 500 this year?
I am. I look forward to it every year, but I think I'm especially looking forward to it this year because if I'm correct, and I hope you correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like Kyle Busch might have qualified on the pole.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So I think that's pretty neat, and I think that will just really make it interesting. I'm curious to see how he does.
Kyle Busch at the pole, Chase Briscoe in second. and the rest of the field would be determined tonight. I know they've already had the first race by this time. They should be getting for the second race right now, and we'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit next week. But should be a good night of racing. I know that, like I said, it's still a little chilly out there, but warmer than it has been. So, and it's nice and clear. So they should have a good race up there. That was one of the things I didn't like very much about the World Series of Asphalt that we had the pleasure of attending on Friday and Saturday night. It was cold. It was breezy. It was a wind chill. It was clear, sure, but it was awful chilly there. And it definitely wasn't as cold as it had been in Bowman Gray on Wednesday, where Ryan Preece had he won the race there with the sleet and the really cold temperatures. But it wasn't the most ideal. I would have liked it to have been 10, maybe 20 degrees warmer. I wouldn't have had to wear two jackets and still be chilly. But it was okay, and it was a great event. The facility, like our guest said, the facility is amazing there. The staff is really good, and the grandstands were cool. They were very, very well set up. I didn't have a chance to eat anything there because track food sometimes isn't the healthiest thing for you. But they did have a wide variety of stuff. The normal stuff you get, the cheeseburgers and hot dogs and all that. So it was an interesting race. It was really good. The competition was amazing. There were a heck of a lot of cars there, especially on Friday night. They had all the different classes, which was the Bombers, Bomber A and Bomber B. They also had the super late models. They had pro late models. They had sportsman class. So that was nearly 100 cars there for the first night, and that was pretty awesome. We did watch all those cars on the track for at least a little bit of time. We watched the entire super late model race, which was a 60-lap race. That was a perfect length of time. I think that that's one of the advantages those sort of things have. They tend to be really good length of time races. 60 laps is the perfect time, and lapping at about 20 seconds per lap. It got done pretty quick and was pretty good. And we were out there before 9 o'clock, so that was pretty awesome. But they did have an awful lot of other races there on Friday night. If you were to stay for the entire event, you probably would have been there until after midnight. That's a little late, especially for the fact that it kept getting cooler. But there were a lot of people there for Friday night, and that was awesome. There were quite a few people there for Saturday, more people than for Friday. On Saturday, we watched the modifieds, which was really cool. Then a NASCAR Wayland Modified Series was there. That was a really awesome event. We got to see the first half of that, and it wasn't the most comfortable. And there were way too many people there for that race. It was pretty much shoulder to shoulder for in the grandstands, which is okay, but it gets old after a relatively short period of time. So that was okay, but it was a really good race, and those modifieds are insanely loud. It was probably the loudest I've ever heard at a racetrack, because we left halfway down, and when we were going down the stairs, I don't think the people in the first 10 rows, if they can hear anything the next day, they have super person hearing, because it's just insanely loud. And no matter how much ear protection you're wearing, they're still really, really loud cars. And that was neat. And I'd love to see the modifieds again. I wish that they raced more down here, but unfortunately they do not. So if you want to see the modified, you have to go up to New Smyrna Speedway, which really isn't that bad from down here. It's about a little less than 3 hours of a drive going up. It was less than 2 hours coming back home. So not too bad at all. But a lot of modifieds there this week. Touring modifieds, 603 modifieds, Wayland modifieds, E-mods, all sorts of modifieds this week. And so they've still got a few more days of racing there. 3 more nights, in fact, if you count tonight. So tonight is more of a late model thing again. They did have an ASA race there the other day. So it's pretty cool to see all the different drivers. Pretty cool to see some of the people you've seen racing the Daytona 500. A few people we've had in this program before over there. Bobby Labonte was in the modified race. We've had him on this show twice. So that was pretty awesome to see him there. Ryan Newman was there racing the modifieds as well. That is his main gig now. So it was neat to see Ryan Newman out there. And let's hope that one of the guys we messaged, we did try and contact as many drivers we were able to through their social media. So let's hope that we get to talk to some of those guys in the future on this program. I'd love to hear from you guys. So The invitation is wide open. So if you're interested, please come on. So are you ready to? There were enough drivers. There were drivers there who came down from Washington State, other ones from Idaho and other places. So maybe next year you should come. You should bring a race car down and compete in the World Series of Asphalt racing in Smyrna Speedway.
That would be kind of fun. Maybe, you never know. You never know. Maybe you should. I think you should take the Maverick.
And racing the truck series. Exactly.
Yep, racing the trucks. Slap a number on it.
That's what some of the bombers look like. Yes, they look like people are just gone out there and put a number on each side. Some of them, the numbers did not match, and that was interesting. And it's interesting to see how the cars are prepared, because some of the bomber cars there were pretty much straight off the road. Some of them were really stock cars, the historic looking stock cars. Some of them were probably half a step above a car that should be smashed tomorrow. So it was a interesting combination of cars there in those series, and those guys are pretty cool. My former brother-in-law actually raced in that series a while ago before he passed, so that was kind of cool to see those guys too. Kind of an interesting group of people there, and I think that they had a purse of more than $2,000 for Friday night for those cars. So that's a decent amount of money for people who are the grassroots racers. That's pretty cool. So, I was kind of surprised that the purse for the modifieds wasn't very high, but the modifieds are interesting too, because some of those guys are really, really top of the line, hugely sponsored, and big crews and huge pit boxes, and some of them are not much better funded than the local grassroots guys who were there. So that was interesting to see too.
So you said you've seen like some interesting cars. Would you say it was the cars that you could tell were like really well built race cars, or were it the cars that looked like they just came off the street? Which ones tended to do better, do you think?
Modifieds were a teeny bit slower, which was interesting. I think that some of that had to do with the fact they were in a new tire compound this year, because I think that the Tour modifieds that they raced on Monday, where they raced in the Hoosiers, which basically the same cars as the Wayland modifieds, raced a little bit quicker. The fastest cars by far were the super late models, running a little over 17 seconds for a half mile. Those were pretty awesome. Some of those were really, really amazing looking cars, and they were names that you've heard. A couple of them are actually people that we've talked to before here, so that was neat. But always interesting to see something a little different. I haven't seen super late models for many years. I saw them in Ohio in 2002, I think, something like that, 2003. But it's been a long time since I've seen super late models there. So that was awesome. So always an interesting thing to see something a little different.
Yeah, and that's really fast, because RIP to our racetrack, but when we had like the super late models and stuff, they were getting like 16, well, I'd say like 15-second lap times. So that is fast.
Yeah,
that was a quarter mile. And so that's really fast. Those guys are moving.
They are, and they, like you said, they're with the 23-degree banking. They don't have to slow down as much, and they just go, and that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing it in the future. I don't know if we'll go back next year. I think if we do, we'll do a little bit different day. But it was an interesting race. It was pretty cool. The next race we're going to be going to, as of right now, on the schedule is the IndyCar race, the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, which I'm going to be getting more information on in the next few days as to how to pick up the tickets and all that for that. But that should be a really good race. The fact that Dario Franchitti will be racing in that event, and I think some of the other guys who are racing at the Daytona 500 will be racing in the truck series there in St. Pete as well. So that'll be cool to see that. That's the next big race. After that, I think we'll probably be going to Sebring for the 12-hour event, but we won't be going for the 12 hours. We'll be going to the practice and qualifying there on the Friday before the race, which is Friday the 20th of March. Will be our day that we're heading up there to Sebring. So that'll be interesting. We haven't done that in a while. The last time we went up on a Friday was for the FIA. They had their World Endurance Championship raced on Fridays. They do not do that anymore, which is unfortunate, but it'll be neat to see how the Friday qualifying and practice goes. And hopefully get a chance to get a little bit closer to the cars and that sort of thing. That's always a fun thing on Friday. And we're talking about going to Homestead there, which isn't until October, but still going down to Homestead for the season finale of NASCAR. Again, that'll be another Friday thing, going and seeing the trucks and all that. That'll be really awesome too.
That would be nice, and the weather will be warmer around then, so you won't have to triple wear layers of clothing.
Yeah, no, I didn't bring my gloves with me. I probably should have, but I had the hoodie, and I had the hooded jacket and the hoodie thing, and it was still a little nippy for South Florida there, and even though it's Central Florida, and you could tell everything been really cold because all the plants were dead. I've been in the 20s there for a few nights in a row. I'm happy I went in the 20s, but being in the mid 40s isn't my idea of fun, especially not sitting outside in the mid 40s.
Not willingly, anyway, right?
Exactly. It was cool though. It was a very interesting race, and it was great to get to talk to some of the people there. We actually got to talk to some of the racers because they were staying in the same hotels we were staying in, which was awesome. So that was neat. And I got to talk to some of the guys there in the hotel, talk about the people that were showing up for Daytona. In the Wyndham there, they actually have one of Eric Jones's stock cars sitting there in the lobby, so that was neat there too. Always something. Plus, we had the chance to head out to the Cruisin' Cafe, which has been featured in some of the back in the day when they had the NASCAR pre-race show on Speed. They did a few things from there. It's a NASCAR themed cafe where you could actually sit and have lunch or dinner or whatever in a NASCAR stock car. That's not the sort of thing you get to see every day. That was pretty awesome. So I'd highly recommend that if you're in the Daytona area. It's right on Atlantic Avenue and Main Street, around the corner. Food was pretty good, but very above average. They've got all different sorts of themed foods there, all themed on NASCAR tracks. So, plus all the stuff you can see, the different race cars and all the memorabilia on the wall. And if you're interested, you can even purchase your own race car there, or different sorts of memorabilia. They've got stuff that's for sale because they rotate through their stock every so often. Pretty interesting. And I know today like I said, in Daytona, they got all this stuff going yesterday. They had some practice there yesterday. They had some ARCA practice also as well today. So it should be a good weekend of racing. And like I said, in the past, we've had the chance to talk to Allie Owens, who'll be racing this weekend in the ARCA series. So we wish her all luck as well. And hopefully it's a good race there for them. In addition, if you guys have followed the Ram Race for the Seat thing on YouTube, you know now that the winner of that seat is Minnie Terrell. Minnie Terrell was actually on this program twice at a time when he was actually a mini guy. Now he's a much more mature 20-something-year-old guy. But when he was on the show, he was a young kid who was just getting a start in racing. And it was pretty awesome to talk to him. And it's really awesome to have him moving up in the world of NASCAR. So we wish him all the luck as well in the Truck Series race on tomorrow. So what's your next big racing adventure?
Well, probably. Well, I mean, there's really nothing going on until kind of April, but my husband and my son are going to Supercross Saturday, so I'll be watching that from the TV because just like you, I don't like to go sit out in the cold willingly. And yeah, so that's kind of the next big thing. Yeah. And that could potentially be interesting because as far as I know, Seattle could get a bunch of snow and it's an open kind of dome type thing they're competing in. So they could be competing in a lot of snow, which I think would be cool. No pun intended. So yeah, that's all I got for right now, but yeah.
That should be good too. I know Supercross is coming down here to Daytona in a few weeks. They'll be here at the beginning of March, so that'll be a heck of a change from racing the snow up there to racing in the hopefully not rain when they get down here in March. Definitely be a lot warmer though. I've never had the chance to see the Supercross thing live in Daytona. I've seen it on television numerous times, and it's interesting. But again, it wouldn't be my first choice to go to a Supercross event there in Daytona simply because you don't. If you're close to the track, you're standing up, and if you're in the grandstands, you're not as close as you should be, and it's an interesting idea, but I don't think that logistically is the best. There are other places I think that Supercross would do better in Central Florida than at the Daytona National Speedway. But I've discussed that with Supercross a couple times before, and it hadn't changed anything. So they love Daytona. They weren't as big and successful in Orlando as they had hoped, but I'd still love to have them go back to Orlando. In the Citrus Bowl is where Supercross got started in South Florida or in Central Florida. That's where they belonged. The racetrack is not their thing. It might be really huge for ratings and all that, and look good as part of the tour, but it isn't the most fan friendly place. So, not for the motorcycles anyway.
What do you think they could do to make that particular event, since they didn't really entertain taking it elsewhere? What do you think they could personally do to make it a bit more fan friendly?
I think they could maybe move in some temporary grandstands along pit road type thing, but that's just incredibly difficult just because of the fact there's so many events going on during Bike Week. They have the 200 there, which is the Motor America race that takes place on the Super Speedway. They have the sidecar races and all the other things like that. So it's a matter of logistics, and I think that they do the best they can. But I wouldn't think standing up along pit road to watch a race is the most entertaining way to see something, especially since it's not a short race. And like I said, the grandstands are further back there. So
no, and it's not a short race at all. So I think they're like heat races or something like that. They do like 4, I don't know, separate events or something. So I agree with you. That would be a really long time to stand as a fan to watch.
Mm-hmm. They don't have many problems filling it up though. There's always a lot of people there, except when it's really really nasty, and they've had some really nasty years where it just rains and cold. But most of the time they do a blockbuster business there, so they're doing something. But it just wouldn't be my idea of an enjoyable time.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. That would, and and there's so much in between time, like between the races and stuff. So you're standing there for an awful long time to watch the races, but you're standing there even longer when you account how long it takes them in between races. So I would definitely agree. I would not attend an event like that if I had to stand the whole time.
Yeah, I think that was another good thing about the World Series of Asphalt. There, they had a lot of events going on, and there wasn't a lot of downtimes. There was enough downtime where if you wanted to go down and look at the souvenir stands, or if you were really jonesing for a hot dog or whatever, you could go down and get that too. There was plenty of time for that in between some of the things, but the longest break was maybe 45 minutes, and with the seats in the grandstands, that's not bad at all. So there's always something going on from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till almost midnight. Pretty much every night of the event, there's something going on. So really, I recommend it. It's really a cool place to head out there to the new Smyrna Speedway. Like I said, there's still a few days left, so and there's still tickets available. So be sure to go to New Smyrna Speedway, their website, and you can purchase tickets there.
I'm still not 100% sure what it is, but Kevin Harvick's event that I told you about, that's coming to the racetrack near me, apparently it sold out within like 3 hours.
That's awesome.
So it must be something kind of cool, but we were looking at the ticket prices and it wouldn't even show us the ticket price because it's sold out. So they're going to have a good turnout for whatever he's doing.
Yeah, I saw that Kevin Harvick and his son have been competing here in Florida as well. I think they were actually at the Auburndale Speedway, which was mentioned by our guest there, Derek Pugh. I think they competed there over this past weekend. So that's an interesting thing. They had other drivers doing the same sort of thing with Kyle Busch and his son Brexton were competing there in Auburndale as well. So that's pretty cool.
Who's your favorite, like, father-son, like NASCAR son duo right now? Who's your favorite?
I think I'd probably have to go with Kyle Busch. And Brexton's he's a character, of course. he's an interesting kid, and I know he'll have a really good career, especially if he keeps up with it. But I think that Kyle and Brexton are pretty much the big thing right now.
Yeah, I think so too. It's kind of adorable. It's wholesome.
Yeah, it gives you an interesting, a different perspective as to Kyle Busch. I think, like we talked in the show before, Kyle Busch might have the bad boy image at times, but he's definitely an entertainer. He's a guy who wants to succeed in racing, but wants people to enjoy themselves when they're at the track as well, and that's one of the important things.
I agree. I hope he does really well in the Daytona 500.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it'll definitely be something to see, and should be a good race. Like I said, the weather will be really good this year. It's supposed to be anyway, so that'll be good. And it is a sold out event this year again. Just sold out yesterday morning. So if you're interested in heading to the Daytona 500, unless you have a chance to head out and hit one of the scalpers there along International Speedway Boulevard, you're pretty much out of luck. And if you hit one of those guys, you never know. Might be a good deal, or it might be the worst deal you've ever spent for race tickets. But you take yourself and your fate in your hands there by doing that. We have done that before. It worked out okay, but you never know. That's why they're out there to make a few dollars off seats that may not be the best, or could be really good. Either way. But again, should be a really good weekend of racing there. Big event on Sunday, but again, the smaller events on tomorrow and on Saturday should be really good as well. Looking forward to that. I did have the chance to head out to an ARCA race there a few years ago, so that was pretty awesome. But we'll see how it goes. Should be a good weekend of racing, no matter how it ends up.
Yeah, I'm just, excuse me, a little bit surprised, really, that it's already that time again. It's already NASCAR.
Yeah, it's going to be a relatively long season. It's not as long as it was a couple of years ago, but it's still like 40 weeks. So that something pretty much every week between now and November. So that'll be something as well. There's some races that are a big deal, some races that aren't as big of a deal, and we'll see how the schedule goes this year. I know it's going to be in flux a little bit later in the season, where they're going to be changing things around compared to past years, and we'll see if those changes stick around for next year, or if the schedule shifts entirely for next year. There's have been rumors that there'll be some major changes. You never know. See how it goes.
I did find it a little bit touching. I don't know whose car it was, but I think it was a truck actually, but someone had Greg Biffle's paint team, and I thought that was actually really sweet.
Yeah, they Garrett Mitchell, the guy who races as Cletus McFarland, will be racing the Greg Biffle paint scheme this weekend. So, for Nice Motorsports. So he and Travis Pastrana are the teammates in that team for this weekend anyway. So that'll be something. I saw them. They had some a few number 16 things racing in Daytona for the 24-hour race as well, which was kind of neat. I didn't see anything about like that at New Smyrna, although I'm sure there are a couple. I did see some Earnhardt fans like our guest there, Derek Pugh, racing number 3. That was kind of cool too. It's always something.
Yeah.
So, and with that, let's go ahead and wrap up our show for this evening. I think we should be another great show in the books. I do apologize for a little bit of technical gremlins at the beginning of the show. That just happens to hit us every so often now. But it didn't last very long, and I'm happy that our guest was able to join us without any difficulty. Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder by visiting facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. Listen to previous episodes of this show at Thursday Night Thunder Podcast.podbean.com, on Podchaser, on iHeartRadio, Boomplay, Spotify, Player FM. We're getting a bunch of people listening with Amazon Music now, so if you can find the show there, and hopefully you do. That's pretty awesome too. Or you go to youtube.com/FABORPLUMBS. I've got all the shows archived there, plus some of the past episodes from our Speedway Digest days, so be sure to check that out there. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to check out the Fan Club feature on the Podbean app by going to facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. One of the featured posts there at the top will give you more information on that. I also invite you to check out my racing news site at motorsports news and views.wordpress.com. I did publish a bunch of articles that last week. I will be posting some more this week, probably this weekend. I might do a couple tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. But I do have a lot of pre-Daytona news in addition to the stuff we talked about this evening. There's some more information I'm going to be posting. Not a lot more because I did try and cover a lot of it tonight. But there is some more information I'm going to be posting about some of the stuff going on this weekend in Daytona. Be sure to check that out. In addition, if you're a fan of South Florida, and who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information about our slice of paradise at my travel blog, For Warblum's Fantastic Finds, which we found on Facebook. On Twitter, it's at PB Happenings, easiest way to find that. And by heading to For Warblum's Fantastic Finds, that's FABORPLUMBS, fantasticfinds.wordpress.com.
Thank you for listening. We look forward to seeing you again next week in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing.
Have a great night, and thanks again.